It's such a fun thing to get to make a horror movie.
Gwen! Gwen!
You can be on set and you're doing the scene and there's blood everywhere.
Gwen! Gwen, wake up!
But they'll yell cut and everyone starts cheering.
It wasn't a like that.
After the first movie, cast, crew, all the other creatives, we really had such a connection and we were so close.
Why are you so red?
Look at his cheeks.
Stop, you make it worse.
I got this video message from Jason Blum, and he was like, it's official, we're doing a sequel. And I literally started crying and screaming.
And I was just like, when, where, I'm there.
Mason Thames and Madeleine McGraw return, and these kids blow us away every time.
I love Finney so much, and I just can't leave him, so getting to be back with Finney and Gwen is such an honor. And I am back in this creepy basement. Yeah. Finney is an angry dude. Even from the first movie, he's been such a complex character. Even more so now.
Stay the fuck away from me.
Anyone else?
At the end of the first film, we see Finney return to school as an admired champion.
Hi, Finney.
But I think there's another part of us that believes that can't really be the end of this for him.
He's dealing with the trauma of having been kidnapped by and eventually having to murder the grabber, which is a lot to reckon with.
But he still shows up with all of the love for his sister and ready to tackle anything.
Okay.
Mason is everything that Finn represents.
Oh, there's a camera on there.
He has this strength as an actor that can play that duality very easily.
My expectation was that he would have to do more emotional delivery in this movie than he did in the first one, and the first one had a lot.
He brings this intensity that isn't forced.
I said no.
It lives in him, and I think the camera catches it nicely.
If you have another nightmare, we'll wake you.
What if you can't?
What got me the most excited to play Gwen again was that I get to learn more about her. She's now this girl that's bullied at school because people now know about her visions, so they think she's a witch.
I don't want to use the word snarkier, but it's exactly that.
Gwen is just a firecracker. She has so many thoughts and feelings and opinions, and she will let you know what they are.
Have you always been such a sanctimonious twat?
Oh my God, that's amazing. Thank you guys. I've been wanting to do that since like day one.
Madeleine McGraw is a lovely actress to work with. She's extremely talented.
Coming off of the first Black Phone, I think there was a lot of pressure on Maddie's shoulders to show up. Yet every single day, she's just...
Yeah, great.
This is so fun. A little bit. Oh my God, it looks real.
It is real. You really did that.
Oh shoot, okay.
What's up, guys? She just had so much levity, always.
Maddie, she's like an old soul, you know. She does things that take years to get good at.
She goes to such incredibly difficult places in this film. You know you've got a great scream queen when you just see something in her eyes gets sparkly and magical.
I was really excited to get to explore and navigate her this time around because we get to find out more about her dreams and learn the truth about what happened to her mom.
Mom. Hope is the mother of Gwen and Finn. The addition of my character, Hope, fills in the world of the Black Phone too, I'd say. In the first movie, they're all experiencing a lot of pain from the loss of Hope.
Your mother, she saw things, and eventually she took her own life.
When you play a flashback character, you're like living in a different world than like the movie. But I'm so honored to play this character because it is such a big part of the film, even when I'm not in it, to hear the way she talks about her mom.
Her name was Hope Adler.
You're Starlight Skates?
Anna has a star quality to her. The movie was going to start on a close-up of her face, and the only way that works is if you've got an actress dedicated to the truth of a scene.
I actually asked if I could meet with Madeleine before we came to set. Just as people, we're very similar.
Honestly, she's so much like me, it's kind of scary. It's great, because we're playing mother and daughter.
It's kind of like how Hope is a lot like Gwen, going through the process of navigating life as a young woman.
Wild
back, baby. I'm back and I'm worse for the wear.
Ethan Hawke, he's an idol of mine. He walks on set and first take just nails it. It's inspiring. Working with him on the first Black Phone, it taught me, I want to get better and learn from my craft.
In the first movie, I didn't get to work with him. In this movie, we have a lot of scenes together, and working with him is so awesome. He was so supportive and so kind to me in between every single take.
Whoa.
Always made sure that I was okay.
Yeah.
It's just so weird seeing him go from just Ethan whistling, walking around on set,
I don't normally say this, but I think I'm gonna need somebody to help me put on my pants.
to this terrifying, psychotic grabber.
And what Ethan brings is eloquence.
Abandon all hope.
Those are lines that could be incredibly cringy on the lips of the wrong actor.
Ethan Hawke did say that to play the character, he had to break a personal rule of his, which was the no bad guys rule.
But I'll put an end to that.
Everyone has a justification for the way they behave and the choices they make. He made a decision that he was going to play a character who did not need those rationalizations.
How the tables have turned.
Ernesto, get her out of here.
Ernesto is Robin's brother from the first film. There's no title on it, but I'd like to say he's the love interest of Gwen.
I don't like the way he looks at her.
Finn didn't really like Ernesto at first. Ernesto looks a lot like Robin, and it's a reminder of the relationship that Robin had with Finn. In the first film, I remember referring to Robin as Finn's guardian angel.
You remember what I told you?
Someday I have to stand up for myself.
I think the relationship that Ernesto has with Gwen is almost parallel to Robin and Finn. Robin looked out for his best friend, and now being Ernesto, I'm looking out for Gwen.
Miguel Mora is such a nice guy and an amazing actor.
When I found out that Miguel was coming back to play Ernesto, I was freaking out. That is like the last thing I thought they were gonna do with his character.
I met him and Madeleine McGraw to record a couple of scenes. I don't think I was halfway through the first scene where I was like, oh my gosh, that's Ernesto.
He came in for the rehearsals, and I was like, this guy's more Ernesto than he ever was Robin.
¿De dónde sacaste esos tatuajes?
Oh, en la cárcel. Pero eso fue hace mucho tiempo.
Demián Bichir plays Mondo. He's the head of the camp.
Morning, campers! Mando had a rough life after making the wrong choices when he was younger. So he has this determination of finding the missing kids.
We are gonna get those boys back.
Demián is by far one of the most incredible actors I've ever shared the screen with.
Demián Bichir is an Oscar-nominated actor's actor. There's all kinds of nuances in that performance that I'm always amazed by. I am so fortunate that he said yes to this project.
The whole process was very enjoyable.
Getting to work with such an incredible actor, I felt so honored.
He really adopted the role of uncle right off the bat. He'd crack a joke when things were tense, and he was just a warm, very safe space to be around. He really wanted to make sure that I had all the information and tools that I needed to really build Mustang.
You built my niece Mustang?
Like the car?
Like the horse.
The actress that plays Mustang is Arianna Rivas.
Mustang is Mando's niece and ranch hand.
She actually does ride horses, so she didn't have to train for it. She just hopped on that thing and did that shot, no problem.
Follow me!
She's so badass. I don't know if I can say that. Okay, I can. Yeah, she's badass.
Hey, whoa, girl. Her character is such a badass, and honestly, so is she.
Look back,
Drop.
So the drop is on the look back.
Well, you guys are committed.
That was great.
She likes to have conversations about the backstory of the character, and I got into explaining to her the dynamics of northern Colorado, where I lived, and how there was a big overlap between Mexican-American culture, but there's also a big cowboy culture, and she just represented a particular kind of girl that I went to school with.
You think this is funny, Mustang?
You getting your horns clipped? Yeah, I do.
And action!
Literally everyone on the set has been so kind and so caring.
Going to work with your friends is something that's always going to be fun.
I think a great horror movie has to connect with the audience emotionally. It's not just about the low-hanging fruit of jump scares. You need real stakes, you need characters to believe in, and a sense that the story means something more.
They feel like literal family to me. It was all surreal, and I'll always be grateful for that entire experience. I'm gonna cry.
The grabber is back, and he wants revenge.
I'm back, baby.
In the second film, the grabber, he's scarier than ever.
Well, he's a supernatural creature now. He's a truly terrifying beast of rage and sadism.
He's evolved from a creepy serial killer to a ghost serial killer. It's just awesome.
Did you think that our story was over, Finney?
The idea of bringing him back was something I was always excited about. It's Black Phone 2, now he's the ghost.
I am a bottomless pit of sin.
That's it, right there. This is just a wide master for all the action. When Joe said that he had an idea for a sequel, of course I'm gonna take it very seriously.
The idea was right there in the first film. Dead people are calling Finney on the phone. The grabber is dead.
And then when you realize that it's your mom, I want you to actually sort of come in more like this. It really is a movie about a brother and a sister. The grabber had killed their mother.
Hello? Hello?
I was so impressed with the way Scott and Cargill deepened the mythology while keeping the intimacy of the first film.
Good, good, good.
The grabber's goal in the second movie is to take down Finn by hurting Gwen.
The door will start slowly opening.
The grabber's motivation is to make you believe that nightmares will never go away, that a ghost can stay in your heart and your mind forever if you don't expiate that evil out of you.
Most people think of hell as just a lake of fire, but in Dante's Inferno, the bottommost layers are frozen. Hell is ice.
He's just a frozen entity from hell. So the devil has come to torture you.
Now the mask is covered in frost and frozen.
He takes his mask off in this film. We see what has happened to his face, and that is a pretty nasty bit.
We're seeing something that's not really human anymore. And that mask has become who he really is.
3, 2, 1, go, and then react to that.
Scott didn't want me to see much of him until there was this stunt scene. The grabber wraps the belt around my neck and starts choking me. That was the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life. That was so sick and terrifying.
It was so sick.
We had a very interesting time designing his ice feet.
These are not scary.
No.
And how ice affected his body. He had been frozen in hell for all these years since the first movie.
Just seeing it all up close with his skin kind of puffing out from the sides. It's gross.
It's so dark and gruesome, and he's a lot more powerful than in the first film.
I have needs, just like everyone else.
Yeah, awesome. Go. All the hands come in at the same time. Good.
The new group of ghost kids is very different from the first film. The way I approached the hair had to work with the injuries that they have sustained. For example, Spike has had his face cut in half, so we had to create a hairdo that when his face would fall off in half, the hair would maintain its integrity, and we could continue to do multiple takes with the hair splitting in half.
That's the smoker effect for the jacket, so we get some ghosty, ethereal smoke action.
And then for Cal, he has a massive burn on his face, which would require a lot of prosthetics. And we worked out that we needed to go as tight as possible to the scalp for the prosthetic to adhere nicely, which was appropriate to the era, but also makes the prosthetic have a nice amount of skin to stick to.
Beautiful. Shepherd. Nice.
This is a real great moment.
sequence we're doing here right now is the grabber comes up behind Maddie and he breaks the glass, grabs the foam cord, wraps it around her neck, slams her up to the top of the phone booth, brings her down, wraps the cord around, and then she goes for a 100-mile-an-hour spin.
And blood goes all over the phone booth.
We have a rig over there that spins, and we're providing the horsepower over here with a winch that we're going to operate. These lines go and wrap around. We just can spin it left and right at some pretty fast speeds.
Then the next shot is the big spin with the blood rig.
We have the blood bladder that we're going to be putting down under the wardrobe, and she's going to spin on that rotisserie rig. You're going to see lots of that, and we're going to paint the inside of the phone booth with a nice fine mist.
We had to reproduce the spinning of the blood against all the windows inside the booth, so we have a paint mixer and a sponge and a very sticky technician.
Gwen, wake up!
Gwen, wake up! So the last thing we're gonna do, Maddie, is pour it across the top of your head, and it's gonna drip down.
Okay. Scott purposely wrote in some crazy things just because he knows that I would enjoy doing it so much. He told the stunt crew, let Maddie do the stunts. She wants to do them. She loves doing stunts. So I actually did like a bunch of stunt training. I also got to get my scuba certification for this film because I have to do a lot of underwater scenes. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of nervous, but also excited at the same time.
They've built a huge water tank and they're putting rock inside so our stunt people and Maddie can bring the barrels up from the bottom.
Okay, one more time, lean back. Take your time, and then coming up slow, and come up, and looking at the barrels going away, look to your left. And cut. That was perfect, thank you. Great job, everyone.
It'll be 8mm for the dream of the worldscape, and then digital for real life.
In the same way that so many analog components are scary in movies, there's a texture to 8mm film that it just can't get anywhere else. It's so scary.
All of the scratches and light leaks and jitter that comes with it add to the scariness and the texture.
The jumping between Super 8 format to that pristine, contemporary digital format, I'm really, really looking forward to it.
What do you think happens when you die in this realm?
I'd wake up.
We're going to have the grabber entering her dreams, and Scott's like, oh man, it's this film I caught late night back in like 1983, and you gotta watch the scene.
Being chased by the grabber, I'm in my house, and then all of a sudden, I'm transported to the basement. And then I'm running through the basement, I jump into the freezer, and then the grabber, he like slashes my arm. And it starts gushing blood.
Fun stuff.
And then all of a sudden, I'm now on the frozen lake.
With the effects guys are running a blood gag, going to be making her arm gash bleed. I got a pressure vessel here running about 40 PSI, and she's going to raise up her arm and it'll just make her pajamas bloody.
Yeah.
Gwen is evolving, and as she does, her abilities grow.
In a dream, I have power too.
She's actually able to send signals back and control herself in her dreams.
She's gonna jump to here, and she's gonna grab you by the lapels. And then I think you have the next line.
And at that point, she realizes she has power. The grabber standing there, she blows him back, walks up to him, grabs him, and gives him a headbutt in the dream sequence.
It's a very special skill that she has.
Hey, witch.
Someone might call it a curse, but she embraces the curse. Her tasks are way bigger than her own comfort and her own peace.
Grabber van, and out comes the grabber. Attacks her, grabs her, pulls her into the van.
We were shooting this really emotional scene when I see my mom for the first time. And after Scott said cut, I would literally just keep crying. Like I took myself to a really dark place. How did you get this number?
I had these dreams. The numbers were carved in ice.
Gwen gets her dream powers from her mother, dreams that were half premonition, half past. The dreams allow a window into the dead.
Everything that this family's going through results from the suicide of Hope. We find out it wasn't suicide.
I think that what makes a movie effectively scary is investment in characters. Watching Gwen see her mother hanging and discover and understand the full reality of how her mother had died was very powerful. There's a lot of healing that comes after that for both her and Finn.
There's a lot dealing with trauma. In the first film, you watched the sins of the father. There's a mirror going on with the grabber. Abuse that he suffered drove him to become what he is. And in this movie, Finn is now coping exactly the way his father does.
Don't tell Dad.
We're continuing that story of the sins of the father, working towards hopefully a redemptive arc.
You can't even take care of yourself. You're just like fucking Dad.
Whoa! Let's start from the beginning again.
I hope audiences experience all different ranges of emotion, and I hope they really, really see all the love and heart that we all put in the movie. And I hope they get scared, because it is a horror movie.
What I want is this.
It peels back the layers of what we have already learned. If people walk away a little shaken, but also talking about what it all means, then we have done our jobs.
That's terrifying. That was scary.
The first Black Phone was a very intimate, small movie. And now, with the sequel, it's being played out in heaven and hell on this grand visual landscape.
Hello, Finny.
In Black Phone 2, the grabber comes back from hell.
Hell is not flames, it's ice.
So we go to the most cold extremes.
Hell being cold and not hot has always been interesting to me.
There's a level of vulnerability when you're in the cold.
When there's a sudden wind, you can't help but shiver.
It's like something out of The Shining. Tons of snow, relentless storms. It's like you're trapped.
There's something stark about red blood on white snow. It's an evocative image that you don't get to play with too often in horror because shooting in the snow is costly and hard because it's cold as hell.
Scott had this really incredible vision. The nostalgic and isolating feel of the site sets the right mood and atmosphere for the perfect horror film.
When we wrote the script, I told Scott, you know, it's gonna be 2 in the morning, we're gonna be freezing our asses off, and you're gonna look at me and say, why did we write this scene? And I'm gonna look at you and say, because you said it would look cool. And then he looked at me and goes, it will look cool, and it did.
Nothing burns like the cold.
Cut. Very nice.
And the decision to make a sequel involved envisioning the era that it would be when these kids are 15 and 17. And so it would be 1982. And I remember 1982 very well.
Both the first film and the second film are very autobiographical for Scott. And I think in some ways that's the heart of the picture.
Being able to convey to an audience what I remember experiencing of being in winter snowstorms in the Rockies in a Christian camp. Really interesting getting to recreate that and try to create that visceral feeling.
We came to Canada in early September and scouted 8 different camps. We were looking for one that had a cluster of buildings that would give us a quality of the 80s.
You've got to be very aware of the authenticities and make sure that you get them right. And it's not just the obvious things, sets, costumes, hair, makeup, etc. It's actually got to do with the camera as well, how the camera moves. People filmed differently back then.
Let her go in here. Let her go in here. Cut.
What makes the 80s so magical is that there was so much being done, there was so much being created.
I like to look for Polaroids from the 70s and 80s because they are of the moment. They aren't a decorator's version of what the 70s and the 80s look like. You get the actual casualness and the strangeness that was the period. So it's really hunting for little tiny things you can find that really inform a specific quality. We found that at the camp that we used.
As soon as I went on to that, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm back in the early 80s.
We didn't do that much more work there. We did some landscaping. The mess hall was remarkable the way it was. We didn't touch it.
Wait, what about the outside payphone?
Nothing's deader than disco.
We brought in our phone booth. There's this image of the phone booth at the edge of the lake, surrounded by ice.
Hello? Can you hear me?
And then there was the graffiti. which was something that Scott remembered from his youth, and he wanted to have a lot of it.
I communicate what it felt like to be a teenager in these not well-insulated, very loud, rattly cabins.
Heaters are on, so just give him a few minutes.
One of the funny things we did was add these heaters, which are a light source and have a very odd graphic-shaped heating element in them. It relates to the strange and surreal orange rip around the middle of the basement. The basement set. Had to build it again. It was hard the first time. It was even harder the second time. I had to call some of the people who'd worked on it the first time to find out exactly what their recipe was for certain kinds of materials. It was kind of hard to mimic the orange rip, but I think it's come out well, and it's a pretty perfect representation of it again. Both of these sets have a very strong graphic element, and that was one of the reasons that we did it.
There's a startle awake.
The realness of the camp gives us a starting point for the surreality of the story.
How did you get this number?
All of the natural phenomena that take place in those locations, like a blizzard where you can't see anything,
I can't see the road.
produce a kind of surreal and ethereal quality to the film. And then there's this concept that is very Scott Derrickson, which is that the membrane between the metaphysical and the real world is very, very thin. You can see through it, and you can pierce it.
Gwen, wake up. What are you... Why are you so cold?
That was something I really wanted to be involved with. How we would visualize those two worlds happening simultaneously and affecting each other. And then we had to deal with the amazing qualities of weather.
We filmed that in northern Canada, outside of Huntsville, Ontario. And when we first got there, it hadn't snowed yet.
We were stuck. I didn't know what was going to happen. We were going to have to shut down shooting because there was no snow. And then the one true movie god smiled upon us and dumped more snow in a shorter period of time than they've ever had up there on record.
The storm continued for the duration of all of our location work, forced us to switch from one strategy to an entirely different one where we're fighting the elements.
It's really warm. I love it. It's awesome. Definitely not pen needles in my fingers or anything.
Having it be an actual set in the snow, it really sets you into the movie and really puts you into the world.
A little bit of innovation from special effects. We're calling it the cheese grater. It serves to soften footprints and make the snow look fresh and fluffy. That's how we do it. Make it happen.
Every day we were switching the schedule around to say, oh, there's light snowfall, there's heavy snowfall, there's no snowfall. The snow is built up high, the snow is just melted.
Well, Ethan's a lot taller.
No, we gotta dig out. We gotta dig out some snow.
Oh, that's why. Okay, great.
We'll
because he's sunken down. Great. Okay.
Yeah.
We would switch scenes around so that we could capture the perfect snow level for that moment.
What are you doing here?
It took us 3 days to shoot one scene with me, Mason, and Jeremy because it kept snowing and it wasn't supposed to snow in that scene.
Is this more dream stuff?
But it definitely helped working in the snow for the authenticity of the scene because, you know, we were all actually freezing.
I have on like 8 layers under this.
You really felt the actual stakes of the film sort of filtering into the production.
You don't have to answer it, man. Yes, I do.
And then we have this whole finale that is Iceborne.
Patty Podesta is a visionary production designer who does an incredible job of getting into my head and understanding what I'm looking for. And then she elevates that vision and brings all kinds of new ideas. And in this movie, the greatest thing I've seen her pull off as a production design was Lake Maroon. It looks real, but it's a stage.
When you step into that set, your jaw falls.
This is the Lake Meru ice stage, which we had to create, particularly because we didn't want to use the white ice that you usually see on a real lake. We wanted it to be dark and moody and dusk. So we built this to match the Dream Lake in Colorado.
Ivan Moran, the visual effects supervisor, decided that if this was going to work, we couldn't have the CG-generated background. We had to go get real plates. We had to design the lake around a real lake. And so when you're looking at the mountains high up in the background of Lake Meru, the reason they look real is they are. That's photographed material.
And then we painted all of this floor in a design that we developed over the course of weeks and weeks to have this sort of dark, murky surface that they will look into in various ways. We needed to sculpt a hillside and add all these trees and snow to it. For other parts that couldn't be done on that set, we built a low tank that has a machine that ice breaks and falls into it when people step on it. That was really fun and a strange engineering design. And we also are building a high tank where we shoot all the underwater scenes. And I had to engineer how the ice top works with that.
Ready for action, man. Let's do this.
It's been a really great collaboration between every department. We didn't do any of these things the way people do them usually in movies. We get a different look.
What we did with the water, what we've done with the snow, like, it's just such a different combination of things.
It's a lot bigger in scope, loads more locations, lots of weather. It's just much bigger and grander.
He doesn't want to go. But he said maybe. I think my dreams scare him.
Why do they scare him?
They don't scare you?
Not at all. Look, maybe your dreams remind Finn too much of the past.
Yeah, maybe. I think what happened in that basement really changed him. He's angry all the time. It's like he can't find a way to get over it.
I'll go.
What?
You asked Finn to go to this camp because you want help figuring out why your mom called you from there.
Yeah.
So, let me help. I could also use the cash.
Those two ain't gonna tell you shit. I don't know much myself, but Mondo, even though he doesn't like to bring it up, he'll talk if you ask.
Thank you.
And don't mind Barbara. She's like that to everyone.
It wasn't him. It was the kids. All three of them. They want to be found.
So that's it then. That's why we're here.
Okay, but tell me this. Why is he here?
Excuse me? In 1958, how did this camp close down?
That sounds like a question you already know the answer to.
The three kids in the late 50s. What happened to them?
Vanished. After the third one disappeared, the owner closed the place. Police never turned up any real evidence. Death by misadventure, they eventually called it.
What's that? It's a nice way of saying death by fucking around.
In a nutshell, yes.
Do you believe that?
Not for a second.
You knew the kids?
All three. Calvin O'Keefe, Felix York, and Ronnie Machuca Jr., who everyone called Spike. You know your mother worked here the 3 seasons those kids went missing? She knew them all.
You got moxie, kid. I like that.
Glad there's something to like about me.
Hey, don't be hard on yourself like that. Okay, the world is full of people who will shit on you just for spite. If you don't embrace who you are, then how the hell will anyone else?
I'm scared. How are you not?
How am I not scared?
Yeah.
Well, the way I figure, you don't have time to be scared if you're busy fighting back.
Huh.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something?
Shoot.
Are all boys just stupid?
Every last one of them.
Not now, Ernie.
What's wrong?
You're scared of me.
I'm scared.
Of me.
Wait, I'm scared of the grabber. I'm scared of what we saw in that kitchen. I'm scared of what will happen if we don't get out of this camp. But you? No, I'm not scared of you. Look, I'm new to all of this shit. Not like you or your brother. You've got to let me have my second to freak the fuck out.
Wow.
Wow, what?
You normally don't swear like that.
I normally don't see fucking poltergeist either.
I'm sorry I brought you here.
I'm not.
You should lock yourself inside until we can leave this place.
I'm staying with you.
You don't have to do that.
I don't have a choice.
You always have a choice.
Not about who I care for, or how strong I feel about them, or what I'm willing to do to keep them safe.
Hey, Jesus. I know I don't talk to you as much as I used to. But you know you're always on my mind. And I know I'm always on yours. At least, I still hope that's true. I'm not doing so well. I need help. Some real fucking help. We gotta find those other two boys. I know now that I have power in my dreams. So help me use it. Keep us all safe. Get us out of here alive. Don't let him win.
What's this?
Counselor registration for summer.
You want us to come back?
It was Barbara's idea.
You too. Take care.